The iPad is a wonderful and magical device that can fill a lot of roles that more traditional computers normally do, but they do them in a cheaper, more compact, and let's just be honest here, a darn cooler fashion. But there's like 5 of these different things out here. There's different varieties, there's different sizes, names, and it can all be a little bit confusing if you ask me. Now, you all have actually been asking me which one of these that you should get, and today I'm gonna walk you through the wide, wonderful world of iPads. You know, the ones that I would recommend. So, which one is it? Let's find out. I gotta slam something down. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. My love of iPads has led me down a path of I own way too many of these things. Like, this isn't even all of them. There's a couple more upstairs. Normally, this mini right here is what controls the camera. I've got the 2019 10.2-inch non-pro with the keyboard. Not actually doing much with it right now because I've got the iPad 11 Pro from 2020, and this is my new best buddy that never leaves my side, which is great that I've been making all of these videos about it so that it can always like be with me. Yes, okay, I'll admit, too many iPads. The way we are going to structure this video today is I'm going to talk about each of the current active iPads in the Apple lineup with pros and cons for each, and at the end we'll do a big which recommendation for different types of people slash creators slash regular people that don't really care about creating. There will be lots of recommendations, don't worry. And to get this out of the way, I don't really care about specs. We will talk about a few key ones for each device, but we're not gonna go like super hardcore with processing power comparisons or I don't know, other boring specs lineups because who cares the bench scores of it doesn't matter. What I care about is actual functionality for price, and that's how we're gonna approach this video, and that's how we're gonna approach like all of my videos. So Apple currently has 4 active iPads in its lineup. They've got the iPad Pro, the iPad Air, the iPad, and the iPad Mini. So let's start off with the smallest and work our way up. The iPad Mini version 5 is absolutely the smallest of all the iPads, hence the name. What you really went all out and you really nailed it with the naming on this one, Apple. It clocks in at $399 brand new. This has a 7.9-inch Retina display. It's 0.66 pounds in weight, 6.1 millimeters in thickness, and it does have both a Touch ID fingerprint scanner. Look at that. I love the Touch ID fingerprint scanner. And it's got compatibility with the first generation Apple Pencil. Under the hood of this bad boy is the Apple A12 Bionic chip. Sounds pretty fancy to me, which Apple claims is 3 times faster than its iPad Mini 4. And that's as in-depth on the specs as we're gonna go today. The main pro of this device is the size. This iPad is tiny. It's very small, very compact, and one of the benefits of the size is it still gets a lot of the same functionality that we'll be talking about with its bigger brother, like the iPad OS, mouse support, and keyboard support. A lot of all of those awesome features in the top of the line also make their way to this device, and this device that And as a quick note, like a quick aside, one of the benefits of buying the iPad as a platform slash computer is you don't have to buy that top of the line model to get most of the same functionality. I love that. Like, I absolutely love that. I love iPads. I like that you can get a lot of the top end without paying for it. I do really like though that even though this iPad is really small, it's the same iPad experience that the rest have. The display is absolutely gorgeous, even though it does still have the, I guess we could call these old school Apple bezels now. I know some people get all up in arms about this. It's not something that I've ever really had a problem with. I'm okay with bezels. Hashtag bezels are okay. The first generation pencil does work here, and that's another really big positive for the Mini. But while the point of such a small device is, you know, the small size, the size can actually find itself to be a detractor. One, if you have one of the larger iPhones, like this is the old 7 Plus that I'm controlling the camera with right now. I mean, the Mini isn't that much bigger, and as phones get bigger, what's the point of a small iPad? So it might not be worth the extra expense. 2, I don't know if this is a size thing, but it's also lacking the keyboard connector on the bottom the rest of the lineup has. So there is no Apple Smart keyboard option for the Mini. You can use a Bluetooth keyboard, but there's nothing cool like these keyboards here. And 3, and believe me, you will hear this complaint again later many times, the iPad Mini uses Lightning for charging slash data transfer. And we all know now that I absolutely abhor Lightning in both an Apple sense and as it's been storming outside all day today, and we had tornadoes around here, in storm sense 2, don't like lightning. Next up in the lineup is the iPad. Is that it? There's not, are you called it, you're not called anything else? Just the iPad. Yep, just the iPad. And honestly, that's a pain of trying to label all of the YouTube videos I've been making about this. Because what should we call it? The iPad Standard? The iPad Regular? The iPad? The iPad Non-Pro? It's hard, it's frustrating. Look, you may not lose sleep over things like this, but I do. Welcome to behind the curtains of being a YouTuber. This is a much bigger device than the Mini. Look at that. It comes equipped with a 10.2-inch Retina display, but just because it's bigger doesn't necessarily mean that it's rocking a beefier processor inside of it. As the iPad Standard, this has the A10 chip inside, which is the equivalent of the iPhone 7 range. Don't let that fool you though. You can get these things dirt cheap. And I typed dirt cheap in all caps because it is dirt cheap. I mean business here. They are standard at $329, but you can pretty regularly find them on sale for under $300 and sometimes like for $250. And at that price, look, viewer, person, fellow human being, the iPad Non-Pro under $300 is probably the best computer purchase you could make, period. And I don't mean Apple, I don't mean iPad, I mean computer purchase, period. This is a fully capable machine with most of the functionality of some of the bigger boys we'll be talking about for a fraction of the cost. Functionality wise, it is very snappy. Yes, the screen is 60 Hertz, but I mean, that's fast enough. That is a fast enough refresh rate. I'm not a tech head, it's fast enough. It's got power for days. I mean, I've successfully edited and exported 6K video files from the Lumix S1H on this beast. On the 6K on this thing. And one of my favorite parts about this is unlike the Mini, the iPad Regular, it's big enough that it does have the smart connection built into the bottom, and it does have a dedicated Folio keyboard, and it just works. These keyboards work fantastically well. For fairness sake, it is a little awkward to fold back up, but if you can find the iPad on a deal, you could get both the keyboard and the iPad for a steal. Plus, like the Mini, it also has support for the first generation of pencil, which, that's cool for some people, but like you've heard me say plenty of times now, I never actually use the pencil, even though I keep buying them. Seriously. I have both a first generation and second generation pencil in this house. I don't think I've used either, except whenever you get the pencil on an iPad, you always do like a few test scribbles, or you draw something terribly if you can't draw. I know some of you out there use them regularly. I'm just not one of you, but I keep buying them because it's like, you buy the kit, right? It's not a kit, but you buy the keyboard and that's my insanity. The third iPad on the comparison block today is the only one that I don't physically have right now. And that might be saying something about it, right? Wink. If I'm obsessed about iPads and I don't have this one, probably something's wrong. The current iPad Air is honestly just a device. It's a device I don't understand. It's basically the size of the last iPad we talked about with the processor of the iPad Mini. It does have a very nice looking Retina display, which is slightly larger at 10.5 inches. Hooray, it's amazing. And it has the A12 chip that we already talked about from the Mini. Its real claim to fame though, if you looked at Apple's website, is how small and light it is. But iPads, heck, even this iPad Pro, it doesn't exactly strain my back when I'm carrying it around in a backpack. Like, even though I'm turning into an old man before my eyes, this is not that heavy. We're only gonna cover this one quickly because this just isn't something that I would recommend you buy. The iPad Air can be had at $499. Also, it does have that smart connection and has keyboard and pencil capability, and it's easily the most boring device in this whole list. iPads are so awesome, it's hard to make a boring iPad, but darn it, they found a way. So the iPad Air, meh. Lastly, but certainly not leastly, I said it, is the current iPad Pro from 2020. This device, let me tell you, this has very quickly turned into a staple around my studio and my house. And I've basically used this as my only computer in that time, except my work computer, which is a Windows machine that I have to use. And I play video games on a Windows machine because I can't play Half-Life Alyx on my iPad yet, so there are some differences. There are two models in this lineup, with an 11-inch model and a 12.9-inch model, and they do have a little bit different price tags sized up for the size of those screens. The 11-inch model, which I think really just captures the essence of the iPad, is $799 with 128 gigabytes of memory, while the 12.9-inch starts off at $999. While yes, both of these, even in their base model of storage, are the most expensive devices on this list, that's still, like, that price, $799, that's still on the budget side of computer prices. And these things are bonkers powerful at list price. They come equipped with the A12Z processor, Zebra processor, and you know it's fast because it's the last letter of the alphabet. Like, you can't say that it's like, if you're at the last letter of the alphabet, that's as fast as you can go. You can't go any faster. I don't think that's actually true. Don't check me. These devices have absolutely, just absolutely stunning displays, or at least my 11-inch model does. This one does. I guess I'm assuming, making some assumptions here, that the 12-inch model wouldn't have a worse display. I don't actually know. This is amazing. And my absolute favorite part of the iPad Pro, and something that I complain about all the time, this has USB-C port instead of Lightning. That USB-C port makes the iPad Pro infinitely more usable, as it has faster data transfer speeds, it can use more useful dongles, it can use better docks, it powers more kinds of monitors, and it just makes it an all-around better device because of this USB-C for everything. These three things use Lightning. I'm talking about this back here. These three things use Lightning. Lightning's terrible. I've already talked at length about the specifics of the iPad Pro. It's one of the smallest, most powerful devices you can get. I love it. Much like the other iPads in the lineup, it does also have a folio keyboard here. Check it out. That's so much easier to use. Just so nice. Plus, here in a month, Apple will be releasing a new style keyboard with a trackpad to take advantage of the new iPad OS mouse and trackpad support. This has compatibility with the Generation 2 Apple Pencil, which I only like more because it snaps so satisfyingly on the top of this device. And that saves me from using it, because the second I put an iPad Pencil down, it literally vanishes. Let me show you a magic trick sometime, and that's how to lose an Apple Pencil. You take it off the iPad, you set it down, poof! I don't even know where they go. Magic. Okay, now that we've summed up each device, what are my recommendations? Well, if you are looking for just a content consumption device and you don't actually want something to create on, I'd recommend the iPad mini or the iPad standard. I promise that's the last time I'm gonna make that joke. Both can be had for pretty reasonable amounts, but I'd probably lean towards the bigger version just because of the keyboard compatibility, the bigger screen, the lower cost. Like, I'm telling you, this thing is crazy. This might be my favorite computer of all time. I love this iPad. If you are looking for some kind of content creation machine, but you still need to buy other ancillary devices, camera, lighting, audio, etc., I absolutely recommend the iPad regular. See, I didn't make the joke again. Like I said, this thing is powerful enough to handle 6K video from a Netflix approved camera. I'm pretty sure that it can take your Canon 80D's 1080p footage for editing in one of the apps like LumaFusion or iMovie. Now, if you are looking for a portable powerhouse, well then I'd absolutely recommend the iPad Pro, but not necessarily this iPad Pro. We're dancing a little bit around it. I don't really think there is enough of a difference between the Generation 1 11 and 12.9 inch iPad Pros or one of these new, the Generation 2 from this year. You could easily get a refurbished iPad Pro on Apple's website for much less money, but basically get all of the same functionality, including the trackpad support, including the new keyboard when it comes out. I mean, you won't get the super sweet LiDAR camera that I can almost guarantee I'm never gonna use. See that thing? I paid for that and I'm never gonna use it. So of all these devices, the big winners in my opinion are the standard iPad and the Generation 1 iPad Pro. No matter what the context, no matter what you're looking for, these are amazing devices that will do all sorts of great things for you. Niche recommendation goes to the iPad mini. I mean, like I said, I specifically own this for a purpose to control my camera over here. So if you don't need that one specific use, meh. I wouldn't spend the money and I would just keep using my phone. And I would just basically avoid the iPad Air, unless you got it cheaper than the standard iPad. I mean, it's just so boring. I'm even saying it, I'm like falling asleep, iPad Air. But you know what? If you're looking to buy an iPad, I want you to click on this video right here because it will show you all of my favorite accessories that will let you take just about any of these iPads to the next level, whether it's content creation or whether it's just consuming stuff. These accessories are awesome. Click right here to watch that video. Thanks for watching.